I thank Representative Ayala for his work on this issue. He has been dogged in his determination to get to the bottom of how the budget process works and how he can get more resources for his communities. Others also, and I will go through how my experience with this. I was, before I was majority leader, I was chair of the Appropriations Committee, where we write the budget and make decisions about who gets money and who doesn't in the budget. At that time, I'm from Mansfield, which is right next to Willimantic, a community with a very large Latino population. And at that time, I became aware of the attempt to expand a particular program called SAMA, the Spanish American Merchants Association, which was in existence in other towns in the state. And I want to thank Representative Candelaria for his work on that as well. But I became aware of it. I went down to visit where they were getting this established. And I'm very impressed with what this has done for the community in Willimantic. You know, the fact is that the Latino population is growing and is in growing importance in this state. It is a community of small businesses I've come to see. And those small businesses could be the very businesses that, for the future of our state, may grow into big businesses. And I think, really, for me, it's an issue of where the future of the state is going. We need to engage the Latino community. We need to help them with their entrepreneurial spirit that I know is out there in the small businesses. And I know they are a community of need. And I think that Representative Ayala is correct to try to identify where we can put state resources where it most helps people. We cannot be cutting our state budget at the expense of people at the bottom. It is the worst thing we could do in a recession. People are already on the margins and at the edge. And I am committed to keeping these programs in place. I know the good work you people out there are doing in your communities. And I think it's of incredible importance to people. And as chair of appropriations, I know for many years we sat through many hearings where people did come forward and talk about the help you've given to people and how it's in many cases a last resort for many folks who are in real need in these communities. The recession is not going to make that any better. We have no illusions about that. And the state is in a deep budget recession. I won't lie to you about that. But I think we all have to pull together to ensure that everyone can still participate in the society and that we don't cut things that will hurt our future. And that should be our first goal, is what is the state going to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now. It is imperative that the Latino community become involved, very actively involved in the political process, more so than you have been in the past, honestly. But I look forward to working with all of you. Again, I thank Representative Ayala for his work on this, and of course the rest of the caucus. You have a tremendous group of people representing you here, and I have great hopes for the future of the caucus and our work up here. So thank you very much for coming, and I'm happy to support the cause. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Majority Leader. We definitely need your assistance in this monumental fight. I also want to recognize the work of the Latino and Puerto Rican Affairs Commission. This organization, from the very beginning, this commission, better said, they were there meeting after meeting, really providing a lot of the technical assistance, and without the work of the Latino Puerto Rican Affairs Commission, I don't think we would have the turnout that we have here, or we would have the documents and the presentations that we have. So, Werner, Lena, thank you very much for all the work that you've done. Next, I'd like to have the Acting Executive Director of LPRAC to make a few comments on behalf of the Commission and on behalf of the community as well. Ms. Lorenzi, please.
Thank you, Representative. Buenos días. Good morning. Today is a monumental day, and though its full significance may not be recognized for years to come, I can assure you that what is happening here today marks a turning point in the history of Latinos in Connecticut. I commend Representative Ayala and the state's Latino legislators for their vision and their dedication to Latinos in the state. March 18th, 2009 will be remembered as the day Latinos stood up and said, enough is enough. No more indiscriminate cuts to needed services. No more disproportionate burden. No more marginalization. Today we make our voices heard in unison as a people, but more importantly, as a voting bloc. Latinos are the youngest and fastest growing segment of the state population. Numbering more than 403,000, we account for roughly 12% of the overall population of Connecticut. Despite that, the state funding for Latino agencies is less than 1% of the annual state budget. Think about that. 12% of the state's residents, many of which can be categorized as its most at-risk citizens, receive less than 1% of a multi-billion-dollar state budget. At the beginning of the legislative session, Governor Rell stood before the legislature and spoke of the tough times ahead and the need for shared sacrifice. But she gave us hope when she expressed a desire to protect the state's most vulnerable citizens, those who are most susceptible to economic downturns. And yet, here we are, facing massive cuts to services and organizations that assist the very people she vowed to protect. Cuts in HIV/AIDS programs, cuts in youth employment programs, the elimination of medical interpreters, contributing directly to unequal outcomes in healthcare, the implementation of cost sharing for those on Medicaid, and the list goes on and on. We understand the need for fiscal responsibility in volatile times, but are we to gamble an entire generation so we can balance a budget on the back of the poor and underserved? Latinos are the key to the economic revival of the state. We are its future workforce. We're not asking for increased investment. We simply want a continued investment for the sake of citizens and for the sake of the entire state. Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Carmen Sierra from Causa. Carmen.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first Latino Advocacy Day. A very special thank you to all of you who decided that indeed is an important moment for Latinos in Connecticut. I commend Representative Ayala, Gonzalez, Candelaria, Rodan, Robles, Algarando, Rojas, y Santiago for spearheading this effort. We are the fastest growing segment of the population in this state. Yes, we Latinos are, and we are also considered to be Connecticut's most helpless citizen. But on the other hand, we are also homeowners, business owners, taxpayers, and voters. We come here today to make sure the Latino voice is heard during a very tough legislation session. CAUSA, the Connecticut Association for United Spanish Action, was created in 1975 by the Governor Ella Grasso. A woman of great vision, the Latino community was already showing sign of its growth. Today, CAUSA is the largest and oldest statewide organization representing Latinos and agencies in the state. For more than 30 years, CAUSA local agencies have been a steadfast group of dedicated and effective organization that consistently do an outstanding job of helping families resolve language barriers, educational needs, health, wellness issues, and employment challenges. In the past 5 years, our agencies have served over 200,000 clients despite the continuous cut to state funding for these agencies. But I will tell you, year after year, even though state budget cuts continue, our agency forged forward. That's because those who work there are dedicated people who understand what it's like to be in the front of line of poverty. What keeps them going is that many of their clients have gone on to jobs, higher education, and are now on their own contributing in every way to the state. I want you to know that our 16 agencies share one small of state dollars. It's under the DSS budget, and the line item is called Human Resource Development. last year, out of 1 million, was allocated to the Hispanic Resource Development. CAUSA and its member agency received approximately only $350,000. And that amount was divided among 16 agencies to meet the needs of the community they serve. If you look at last year's proposed budget, DSS line item for the Human Resource Hispanic Agency, you will see that it's zero out. There's no funding for the Latino agency to serve our community. This is just one example of what is being said here today, that the Latino agency received less than 1% of the state budget.